Start and you're ready to face the 17th day of November for 2020. I'm Dan Gresham. Welcome into my house this morning as, I'm already kind of rattled. I've been going since early this morning, already been to work, come home. A lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people don't, it's like, well, it's good you do that update at your house. So I guess you've been there all morning. No, I've already been to work and then I come home and then you and I get a chance to talk. So, and again, to me, to be able to continue to do this, for me, it has to be something that's a little bit different than what I do at work. And that's kind of where we're taking the at-home update. We don't talk necessarily about every major news stories of the day. Sometimes we just talk about things that you might have missed or stories that you may not have seen, because there are so many places that you can get caught up on the main stories of the day. Those same stories that get into that news cycle that you can see it anywhere all the time. So I don't want to be repetitive. I mean, obviously, I want you to be caught up on things that are going on. But at the same time, I hope maybe I can catch stories that you didn't see somewhere, bring them to your attention, and then you can go. I always say, I don't want to do the heavy lifting. I want you. Obviously, you have to make that decision on how you come down or where you feel about the way you feel about a story or something that you see in the headlines. Do want to invite you to comment, as always, on our live stream. It's just like any other Facebook post where you would comment. You feel free to do so. You can say good morning. You can tell us where you're watching from. You can tell us what's going on in your life. We feel like we've kind of created a community because many of the people, are regulars here on the update. So we get a chance to exchange our good mornings and our pleasantries every single day. And if you got an issue, something you feel like is not being addressed, you're welcome to put it in there. I say it from the beginning. And I will stick to it. I am not going to read every single thing that pops up in the comments section. I'm not going to post it up on the screen because I simply don't have time and I don't have the ability to screen. That's one thing that I feel like I've done fairly well, is I try to make sure that I'm putting appropriate things on the screen. So again, for those of you who are asking, yes, there is some facial hair going on. It's part of something called No Shave November, which is an effort to make people aware of cancer issues that involve men. You have breast cancer awareness. You have a variety of different agencies that try to make things so people aware of issues in our world. Obviously, COVID dominates things. But despite all that, you still have people who are discovering that they have prostate cancer or that they have testicular cancer. And these are topics that when I started in this business 40 years ago, more than 40 years ago, if I just said, hey, you know what? I want to have a day where I talk about testicular cancer, people would have said, you can't. Oh, no. You can't even say that word. But we've grown up since then, hopefully enough, that we can talk candidly about things that affect our world. And No Shave November is a great way to do that. You put down your razor for 30 days, and people will ask you, what is going on? What is going on? And then you have the opportunity to say, hey, you know what PSA is? You ever had your PSA tested? In a non-offensive way, hopefully, and remind them that, again, early detection is the key to prevention, and it's also the key to solving any issue that you might have effectively, at least hopefully effectively. Sometimes early prevention, even that is not enough, unfortunately. Cancer has claimed way too many lives in this country. You know that. I know that. We're all affected by somebody. As I said from the beginning, this is something that I do in memory of my brother, younger brother, who lost his battle to cancer. And I think we can all probably say that about somebody in our lives. So again, be smart. Talk to the people in your lives. You know, people who, and there are a lot of them, and men are particularly bad. You know, putting things off. Oh, I'll do it next time, or I'll ask the doctor, you know, or they just don't go. You know, and then by the time it's discovered, sometimes it's too late, or they just, you know, it's at a point that what you do get, the treatment you do get has to be much harsher than what it would have been had it been caught earlier. So let's talk about it. You know, and this is one way to do that. All right, let's see who's checking in this morning. Mary Harrison is here with us. Also, Mary Walford is good to see you this morning. Jeannie Foster over in Viter. Tammy says she's ready for a beautiful day, and it's going to be one. You're absolutely right about that. Jess, good morning. Hope your day is going well. Hi, Jean. Also up with us this morning is Denise over in Bon Weir. Good morning, Mr. Emmis. Good morning. Everything getting better. I hope everything is getting better. I hope you're right. Glenda, good morning to you. Heading to Beaumont to oncology. Have a wonderful day. Well, you know what I'm talking about this morning then. Hi, Jamie. Good morning to you over in Bridge City. And Diamond Bell, good morning. Sometimes I have to look twice because, like I say, I'm looking at you, but the name's are over here and this name's over. Maybe I should switch. Let's see. Do I have the power? I do. Look. I'll just move it over here. And now I can see it on the same side that I see you. I think I can actually even make it stretch out longer across the screen, but I'm not going to try. Hi, Stormy. Good morning to you as well. Hi, John. Good to have you with us this morning. I see what you did there. Hi, Laura Smith. Looking forward to Mountain Man Dan on November the 30th. I don't know if it'll be, I don't know if it'll ever be Mountain Man Dan. I will tell you, Laura, I'm going to admit to something. I went in because I have a lot of friends. You know, suddenly facial hair is popular again. I had a beard 30 years ago. I did. And in fact, when I met my wife, it was shortly after I met my wife, I started growing a beard. I got out of television. And when I got out of television, it was like, I can do whatever I want. So it's got like middle-age crazy, only it was middle career crazy. So I grew a beard when it was unpopular to have beards. And I had a beard for quite some time. In fact, when I returned to Beaumont and was still doing talk radio and not television, which was pre-1986, I had a pretty full beard. But I'm not sure I could ever, but what I was going to say was, now you have these guys that specialize. I mean, you look at like James Harden, right? He has this massive, and these guys who shape their beards and groom their beards. And I never knew there are shampoos and conditioners for facial hair. Who knew? So by doing this, I have learned something. But Laura, I think you're safe. I don't think in 15 more days, I don't think it'll be that. Glenda this morning says, I was diagnosed with ovary cervical at 37, almost terminal. Well, I'm glad you're with us this morning. That's what I'm glad. And you know what? When you go through that, you appreciate every single day, which is what we should all be doing anyway. Rachel, good morning to you. Roxy Jackson is with us this morning. Tima Lewis, good morning. No shave November. I learned something every day. You do. And if you open your eyes, and I'm going to move back to the other side because that kind of drives me crazy. Hi, Phil. Glad you're watching us in Lubbock, Texas Tech territory. What is it? Guns up? Is that what it is out there, right? Adrian Robinson, looking good, Dan. I see Adrian. I see what you did there. Marie Jackson says good morning. Gina says good morning as well. All right. Thanks, everybody, for popping in this morning, seeing what's going on. So let's jump over and see what's happening. We'll start things off this morning, of course, with what's going on KFDM.com. We like to say it is your first stop on the internet to find out what's happening in local news. So there you go. You can check out what's happening. Lots of crime. You know, it's the one thing. You can have a pandemic and a lot of things may change and or stop, but one thing that does not stop, is crime. We had more homicide investigations and shootings, and a really bizarre shooting is this one that took place in Beaumont. I don't know if you saw this, where on Monday, police responded to an aggravated robbery that happened on the service road of Interstate 10, where the victim says he was traveling southbound on the service road. Two men wearing hoodies and face coverings jumped into the roadway in front of his vehicle. So what does the guy do? What most naturally anybody would do, I guess you slam on your brakes to avoid hitting them. Then the suspects pull out handguns and demand the victim's property. Now the guy complied, the suspects rob him of his cell phone, the money, and then they run off towards this apartment complex. So he's left without a phone, so he has to drive home, call the police, tell them what happened. Turns out there was another incident with a shooting in a parking lot, and a person died there. The homicide victim has been identified, 51-year-old Ron Guillory of Beaumont. And detectives working this robbery now on the service road think these two are connected. And they believe that Guillory, the man who was shot and killed, was to be a victim of a robbery, aggravated robbery, but he pulls out his own handgun and apparently gets into a shootout with these guys. Now, they can't confirm that, but that's what it looks like. And one of the suspected robbery suspects winds up with a gunshot wound. And that's how they found him. Anyway, a story we're going to continue to follow, but just the idea that you could be driving to work, early in the morning and somebody would jump out in front of you on the interstate. I think when people read this story, what's your immediate reaction? I think it would probably be, well, I'm not stopping for anybody. Good and or bad. All right, the other story of interest that I have to mention is this one. ICU beds for COVID patients up 50% over the weekend. Beaumont doctor says the situation could get out of control within a week when it comes to hospitalizations for COVID-19 patients. I hope you understand that there is a level that you have to stay at, a percentage that you have to stay at when it comes to hospitalizations. We have to stay at 15% or below. And if it goes above 15% for more than 5 days, then the county judge will change the current mandate here, and you go to a different phase. And when you go to phase 2, then all of a sudden restaurants can only have 50% capacity. Yeah. So keep an eye on that. We're certainly going to do that, and we'll let you know. I heard the county judge saying this morning, a major concern is what happens as we head towards Thanksgiving and the Thanksgiving holiday. And we're going to talk about that one day this week, whether or not you're planning on having a get-together, or is this enough to put you off? But anyway, I do want to show you this morning, I just think it's important that we keep an eye on this when I keep saying it. Hospitalizations. If you want to keep track of the numbers or all those things, but when you look at hospitalizations, here we were back in July. We dipped down, and here they're starting to climb again. When you're talking about 24% occupancy, and you can go in and you can look at the regional breakdown. We are Region R. And this is that same dashboard I keep telling you about, human services, health and human services here in the state of Texas. You can just do COVID dashboard, and it will pop up. But when you go to Trauma Service Area R, that's us, you can see there are only 11 ICU beds available. That's where it becomes a problem. And that's what you have to watch. So you've got to pay attention to that. We're at 16% of those available beds, all right? 16%. So that's above that 15. And in some areas, again, 20, 24, you get out in El Paso, danger zone. They've got a real problem and a crisis. And what is of concern is that these numbers not just here, but all across the country, are continuing to rise. And yes, there's some positive news on the horizon, when it comes to vaccines. If you can get people to take the vaccines once they arrive, which is, not only do you have to worry about how can you get the vaccine out to the people, which you're talking about millions. You're not talking about thousands. You're talking about millions of doses. You have to produce them. You have to come with the logistics on how you distribute it. And then you have to vaccinate. Now, I heard a really interesting story yesterday with some health officials talking about with the Pfizer vaccine, it would probably be something set up like it was when you had polio vaccine happening back in the 50s and the 60s, where you'd set up a central location and people would come there to be vaccinated. Well, with the Moderna vaccine, apparently that can be actually distributed to doctors' offices, to the local pharmacy, and you would actually be able to go and get it there because it does not require super cold temperatures to store, which the Pfizer vaccine does. And the other thing you need to keep in mind when you keep hearing these positive stories is that it's going to take more than one vaccine or two vaccines to really get the job done, simply because of the volume that you're talking about. And as we move a little bit further, you're probably going to start hearing about who has the opportunity to get these vaccines first. It's not going to be a mass distribution. It'll be those maybe who are in the most danger, those who are the highest risk, those who are working on the front lines. Then it will go from there. But 95% effectiveness, that speaks well for a lot of things. But in the meantime, there are a lot of people that are struggling, a lot of people in beds. I keep hearing here locally, daily, of people that I know that either have it and are recovering from it, or people that I know today that have it and are in a very bad situation this morning in ICU. And I think that kind of brings it a little bit home to you. I mean, otherwise it's kind of like, okay, it's just a number. It's people talking. I hear them say that. Doesn't mean anything to me. And then suddenly when it's somebody that changes everything. All right. For some of us, I'm sure that's not true for everybody. All right. The other casualty from this is economic, right? We're seeing the fallout everywhere. Here's a good example. Houston Chronicle this morning. Let me pop it up on the screen for you. What they call Politan Row, which was a food hall over in Rice Village, according to Marcy DeLuna's story in the Chronicle, is gone, closed for good. Hadn't even been open a year. In fact, they opened a year ago. They had 4 months that they were actively open before they got hit by the pandemic. That's tough. That is tough. So, the owners say there's just no way they continue to operate. It's a beautiful restaurant. And it's a shame. Again, people put their hard-earned money and their time into these efforts. Yeah. And it's not any one city. It's all over the country that this is happening. Other story you may have missed this morning, I wanted to share with you. Look at this. Amazon launching its online pharmacy now for medications, prescriptions, refills, rattling CVS and other drugstore chains. Can't you imagine? I mean, isn't this one of those companies that a lot of people say put others out of business? So you can only imagine if they're going to start offering door-to-door delivery, right, of all these things, that it would certainly concern some of these drugstore chains. So that's a story I thought you might have missed today that I wanted to bring to your attention. And the other story that you may have missed that I think is an interesting story in the Texas Tribune by Juan Pablo Garnham is about the fact that here we are 8 years later, and the Texas High-Speed Rail Company still doesn't have permits to build the much talked about Dallas to Houston high-speed rail. But you go to Europe and you can walk into almost any major city and they're going to be a hub on a high-speed train. Here in the United States, how we got left behind. I mean, I think most of us know why that happened. But it's kind of mind-blowing that, people can get on a train in almost any major city on any other continent in the world and get there in a matter of a couple of hours max, when you have to get in a car and drive 5 hours to get from Houston to Dallas. If you were doing that on a high-speed train, what, an hour, hour and a half? Even if it's 2 hours. But we still can't get permits. In 8 years, you don't even have any track lane. Wow. All right, so that pretty much brings me to what I wanted to get out to you today, and a chance to also talk to you. Do me a favor, if you will. Hit me with a like. It's always appreciated. And, of course, we will continue to pass those along to the folks that tell us yes, no, and we'll hope that they're encouraged by what they're seeing, and we can continue to get together here at home with you as well. All right, don't forget, lots of ways you can catch up with what's happening across Southeast Texas, obviously at KFDM.com. Also on our Facebook page, Twitter. Follow me, Morning TV Dan. And on YouTube, we have our own channel. It's Dan's at Home. You can subscribe. We post all of the updates there right after we finish here on Facebook. So it's just another way to watch. Again, I thank you for your time this morning. As always, reach out and check on one of your friends. Make sure they're doing okay today. Random act of kindness really doesn't hurt that much to get out and do something for somebody else. Until tomorrow, you go out and make it a terrific day and stay safe.